everybody, Debbie here from Craftywafty, and this is part 5 of our series that I'm doing on making a 8" by 8", and we're looking at a stacked pocket. Now I've already popped my base pocket on there, and the size for that is 8 1/8 of an inch by 3 inches, and I've scored 1/2 inch around all the sides, and then I've popped that on. So if you haven't seen how to make a pocket, then pop along and look at part 3, and that will show you how to do the base pocket. Okay, now for this part that's coming up here to make the stacked pocket effect, which that bit will sit on there like so. This measurement is 8 1/8 of an inch by 2 inches, and we've got the one piece, and I've just scored 1/2 inch on each side, and as you can see, I've put a little bit of red liner tape on those, and this will just sit on top of that pocket, so that gives you that stacked effect. Okay, and literally all we're going to do is we're just going to peel this off like so, and I'm just going to make sure that I line it up. Actually, let's put a little bit of glue on there, give me a little bit of wiggle. This little bit can be a little bit tricky. Pop that on there. Okay, and I'm just going to make sure that I line up that folded edge with the edge of my pocket coming up, but also that it sits up and butts up against the top edge of that bottom pocket like so. And now I can turn it round and I can glue that down onto the other side, and that is as easy as pie, I say so. I'm going to just pop that on there, and again I'm just making sure as I stick this down, keeping the page flat, and I'm butting that bottom edge there to the top edge, and that is our stacked pocket. So you can put things in there, or you can put things in there, and that goes right the way through. And there we are. That is one stacked pocket. Slightly different to our diagonal stacked pockets where we put them on top of each other. This way we're going up horizontally. There we go. So now we've finished making our standard stack pocket, we're going to make our slotting stacked pocket. So again, I've got the same base pocket as before, which was 8 1/8 of an inch by 3 1/2, and then you just score round the 3 sides and pop the pocket on like we've done before. But this time we are not going to do that. Now, even though it looks like I'm going to make a pocket, I'm not, because I've scored on this piece, which is 8 1/8 by 2 1/2 inches, and I've scored down the 2 short sides and 1 along the long side, and this in effect, when we fold it back, it's going to sort of just sit in on top of our pocket, our base pocket. Okay, so let's just get some red liner tape. Now we're only going to put red liner tape on either end, so on the short ends. We don't need it on the long end, but the score line is there to help me line up my pocket when I tuck it in. Now this particular pocket is good for if you're doing like paper piecing with your decorative or your patterned paper. Okay, because on the previous pocket, stacked pocket, we just put a sheet straight through the back, and obviously because it wasn't sort of interlocking a little bit or slotted in, you could still see that paper through the back of that slot, whereas for this one, when we've done it, you won't be able to see that. So if you needed to paper piece on this stacked pocket, you can do that. So here we are. So I've scored round 1/2 inch around the 3 sides, put the red liner tape here, and just as we would with a pocket, we're just going to cut across that scored line and straight across, but I'm not doing a big wonky piece like I would normally do. Okay, and I'm just going to fold these back and give these a good burnish. And then we're going to fold that back on that side and again give this a good burnish. And then the idea is that this will then slot in to where our pocket is. So you've got the score line coming across, which sort of neatens off that bottom edge there. And then you've got your pocket sort of sitting on top. So you can still put things in the back, but now that transition of putting your, whether it's tags or photo mats, etc., should run a lot smoother in there as well. Now, yes, you can still put one sheet of paper down the back if you wanted, the patterned paper down the back if you want. Or you can come down so far and then, you know, you just put your other papers on the front there. So let's just stick this in. So I'm just going to do one side at a time. And I'm just going to get a little bit of glue, just to give me a little bit of wiggle room. Okay, because I need to be able to get this to slot in. And I will slot in the other side as well before I drop that down. Let's turn that around a bit so I can iron it up. So that's going to sit like so. And now I can just peel off this other bit. I'll just bend this back. There we go. And now I can just tuck that in and that will just slide down. So now we've got that nice straight edge coming across from where the score line was, and we can now tuck our bits in either way. Okay, and that is our stacked slotting pocket. Okay, thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.